5 mental models to think like a strategic genius. Strategic thinking involves the ability to view situations from multiple perspectives, anticipating challenges and opportunities while crafting effective solutions. Mental models are frameworks that help simplify complex problems and guide decision-making. Here are 5 mental models to help you think like a strategic genius. Second-order thinking. Definition. Second-order thinking goes beyond the immediate, obvious consequences of decisions and actions. It involves thinking about the longer-term, less obvious outcomes, the consequences of the consequences. While first-order thinking focuses on immediate results, second-order thinking helps you anticipate the ripple effects and broader impact of your choices. Why it matters. In many situations, the most apparent decision, first-order thinking, might lead to negative outcomes in the future, while second-order thinking allows you to see beyond short-term gains and avoid potential pitfalls. It helps you prepare for the unintended consequences that often follow decisions. Example: first-order thinking. A company reduces staff to cut costs and increase profits. Second-order thinking. This could lead to lower employee morale, higher turnover, reduced productivity, and ultimately a drop in customer satisfaction, which harms long-term profits more than the initial savings. A classic example is environmental policy. First-order thinking might support industrial growth to boost the economy. However, second-order thinking recognizes the environmental damage, which could lead to climate change, scarcity of resources, and higher costs in the long run. How to apply second-order thinking? Ask, what happens next? For every decision, ask yourself, what are the possible next steps or outcomes? Think beyond the immediate impact to the next few steps in the process. Challenge the obvious solution. If a solution seems too simple or obvious, pause and think through its broader effects. Consider how it will interact with other elements of your business or life over time. Look for feedback loops. Some decisions might cause feedback loops where the initial effect creates a cycle of repeating consequences. For example, raising prices might increase short-term revenue, first order, but over time, it may alienate customers and lower overall demand, second order. Consider multiple layers. Think in layers. What will happen immediately? What will happen in a few months? How will that affect future decisions and other areas of life or business? Keep going deeper into potential outcomes to build a robust view of the decision landscape. Long-term thinking. Strategic leaders often employ second-order thinking to make decisions that benefit them in the long run. It's about resisting short-term gratification to avoid long-term pain. Practical applications. Business. Before launching a new product or entering a market, use second-order thinking to anticipate market reactions, competitive responses, and customer behavior. Personal life. When deciding to make a major change, like relocating or changing careers, consider not only the immediate pros and cons, but also how the decision could influence your life in the next 5 to 10 years. Investing. First-order thinking might lead investors to follow short-term market trends, but second-order thinking encourages looking at long-term fundamentals and hidden risks. In essence, second-order thinking helps you navigate complexity by seeing the whole chessboard, not just the next move. Inversion. Definition. Inversion is a mental model that involves flipping a problem or situation on its head to gain new insights. Instead of thinking about how to achieve success, inversion asks you to think about how to avoid failure. By focusing on the worst-case scenario or what could go wrong, you can identify potential pitfalls and create strategies to mitigate them. This model encourages a problem-solving approach based on avoiding negative outcomes rather than just aiming for positive ones. Why it matters. Most people focus on what they want to achieve, but they often overlook the things they need to avoid. Inversion helps you look at problems from a different angle, allowing you to recognize risks, identify obstacles, and prevent common errors. This can often lead to better decision-making because it forces you to consider things you might otherwise ignore. Example: normal thinking. How can I become successful in this project? Inversion. What are the things that would cause this project to fail? If you're planning a trip, normal thinking might involve asking, how do I have the best vacation? Inversion would ask, how can I make sure this vacation doesn't turn into a disaster? By focusing on things to avoid, missing flights, overpacking, poor accommodations, you can take steps to prevent them. In investing, instead of just asking, how do I make money? Inversion would ask, How do I avoid losing money? This mindset pushes you to assess risks more thoroughly. How to apply inversion? Identify the opposite of your goal. Think about the exact opposite of what you want to achieve. For instance, instead of asking how to improve customer satisfaction, ask how you could ruin it. By identifying the negative actions that would lead to failure, you can take steps to avoid them. Look for worst-case scenarios. Imagine the worst possible outcome. What would it take for that to happen? By confronting the worst-case scenario, you can anticipate risks and develop a contingency plan. Avoid common pitfalls. Many failures in life and business happen due to predictable mistakes. Inversion helps you identify these common pitfalls and work backwards to prevent them. Use inversion as a filter. Before making a decision, invert the question and ask what the negative consequences could be. This forces you to think critically about hidden risks or challenges. Practical applications. Business strategy. If you're launching a product, instead of just thinking about what would make it successful, think about what could cause it to fail, e.g., poor market fit, inadequate marketing, manufacturing issues. By addressing these potential failure points, you increase your chances of success. Personal development. If you're trying to improve your health, don't just think about what to add to your life, exercise, healthy eating, but also what to avoid, sedentary behavior, junk food. This dual approach ensures you're covering all your bases. Time management. Instead of asking, how can I be more productive? Invert the problem and ask, how can I waste the most time? This can reveal distractions or bad habits that you need to eliminate in order to be more effective. Problem solving. Inversion can help you simplify complex problems. Instead of trying to solve a complicated issue directly, ask what would make the problem worse and then avoid those actions. Famous example, Charlie Munger. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's business partner, is a strong advocate of the inversion model. He often emphasizes that instead of only focusing on what works, it's crucial to also focus on what doesn't work. His advice is often summarized as, all I want to know is where I'm going to die, so I'll never go there. Key benefits of inversion. It uncovers risks that might not be visible when focusing solely on success. It helps to develop a robust strategy by preparing for possible setbacks. It encourages critical thinking and helps avoid cognitive biases that come from focusing only on positive outcomes. Inversion in decision-making. Normal question. How do we increase sales? Inverted question. What could cause our sales to decrease, and how do we prevent that? Normal question. How do we create a happy workplace? Inverted question. What could make our employees unhappy, and how can we avoid those factors? Inversion is about flipping the problem upside down, asking, what are the things I don't want to happen? And using that to guide your actions. It's a simple yet powerful technique for improving strategy and decision-making. Occam's razor. Definition. Occam's razor is a mental model that suggests that when faced with multiple explanations or solutions for a problem, the simplest one, the one with the fewest assumptions, is usually the correct or best one. The idea is not that the simplest answer is always right, but that it's often more practical to start with the least complicated explanation or solution before considering more complex ones. Why it matters. Complex solutions often introduce more variables, making them harder to execute and more prone to failure. Occam's razor helps streamline decision-making by encouraging you to focus on the solution that requires the fewest moving parts or assumptions. It's a useful tool for avoiding unnecessary complexity in both thinking and strategy. Example. Complex explanation. Your car won't start because of a complicated electrical failure. Simple explanation. Occam's razor, your car won't start because the battery is dead. While both explanations are possible, Occam's razor suggests that you should first check for the simpler cause, the battery, before diving into more complex troubleshooting like the electrical system. Another common example in medicine is the saying, when you hear hoofbeats, think horses, not zebras. Physicians are advised to consider common ailments, horses, before diagnosing rare diseases, zebras. How to apply Occam's razor. Start with the simplest explanation. When diagnosing a problem or making a decision, first consider the explanation that involves the least complexity or the fewest assumptions. Test that hypothesis before moving to more complicated possibilities. Reduce assumptions. Occam's razor suggests that the more assumptions required to make a solution work, the less likely it is to be the best choice. Challenge assumptions to see if they are necessary. Avoid overcomplicating problems. Sometimes, in an effort to solve a problem, we create more complexity than is needed. When confronted with a problem, ask yourself, is there a simpler way to explain or solve this? Balance simplicity and accuracy. While simplicity is important, make sure the solution is still accurate. The simplest answer isn't always right, but it's often the best place to begin. Practical applications. Business. When creating a new product or service, start by designing the simplest version that solves the customer's problem. Rather than adding multiple features, focus on the core value it provides and build from there. This approach not only saves resources but also delivers a product faster to market. Technology. In software development, complex solutions can lead to more bugs and maintenance issues. Occam's razor suggests starting with the simplest, most efficient code to solve a problem before introducing complex systems. Decision-making. When faced with multiple options, prioritize the one with the least number of unknowns or variables. For instance, if you're trying to figure out why sales are down, it's simpler to first examine basic factors like pricing or marketing strategy before assuming larger systemic problems. Problem solving and troubleshooting, whether for technical issues, business decisions, or personal problems, first rule out the simplest causes. This helps you eliminate unnecessary steps and wasted effort. Famous example, Isaac Newton. One of the most famous uses of Occam's razor is in physics. Isaac Newton's laws of motion and gravity were far simpler than the complex, competing theories of his time, and yet they explain the movement of planets and objects on Earth more effectively. Similarly, Albert Einstein used Occam's razor when developing his theory of relativity. He famously said, "Everything should be made as simple as possible, but no simpler," highlighting that simplicity, when done right, brings clarity without oversimplifying. Common misconceptions. Occam's razor is not about being simplistic. It's about choosing the solution that introduces the fewest unnecessary complications, not necessarily the easiest or fastest one. Not always correct. While Occam's razor is a helpful starting point, sometimes the simplest explanation doesn't fully capture reality. Some problems do have complex causes, so it's important to test and validate the simplest solution before moving on. Key benefits of Occam's razor. Saves time. By focusing on the simplest explanation first, you avoid wasting time on overly complicated solutions. Reduces errors. Simplicity often reduces the number of variables that can go wrong, making processes more reliable. Encourages efficiency. Simple solutions tend to be more efficient, both in implementation and in ongoing maintenance. Occam's razor in decision-making. Normal approach. We could develop a new, sophisticated marketing campaign with complex targeting, diverse content strategies, and automated workflows. Occam's razor. Let's first try optimizing our current campaign with a clear message and better audience segmentation. By cutting through unnecessary complexity, Occam's razor allows you to see the clearest, most direct path forward. It's a powerful tool for decision-making, problem-solving, and innovation, helping you avoid overthinking and focus on practical, effective solutions. The 80-20 principle, Pareto principle. Definition. The 80-20 principle, also known as the Pareto principle, states that 80% of results come from 20% of efforts. It's a rule of thumb that suggests a small number of inputs or actions often produce the majority of the desired outcomes. This principle can be applied in many areas, from business and productivity to personal relationships and wealth distribution. Why it matters. The 80-20 principle helps you focus on the most important factors that drive success. Instead of trying to improve everything equally, it allows you to identify and prioritize the key activities that yield the greatest results. This focus on efficiency can lead to better use of time, energy, and resources. Example. In business, 80% of your revenue may come from 20% of your customers or products. By identifying those high-value customers or products, you can allocate more resources to them and potentially grow profits faster. In sales, a salesperson might find that 80% of their sales come from 20% of their clients. Focusing on nurturing those key clients can lead to even greater sales growth. This principle can also be applied outside of work. In personal life, 20% of your activities might bring 80% of your happiness or fulfillment. For example, if spending time with close friends brings you the most joy, prioritizing that over less meaningful activities can enhance your well-being. How to apply the 80-20 principle. Identify the vital few. First, find the small number of inputs, actions, tasks, people that generate the most significant outcomes. In work, it could be specific tasks or clients. In life, it could be the activities or relationships that bring the most joy or value. Prioritize and focus. Once you've identified the critical 20%, focus on those areas and dedicate more time, energy, or resources to them. Eliminate or reduce time spent on the 80% that isn't delivering much value. Measure and adjust. Regularly measure your progress and reevaluate where your best results are coming from. The Pareto distribution isn't static, so revisiting it periodically helps ensure you're always focusing on the most effective areas. Delegate or eliminate low-value tasks. If 80% of your results come from only 20% of your work, consider delegating, automating, or eliminating tasks that fall into the unproductive 80%. This allows you to focus on the activities that matter most. Practical applications. Business and sales. If 80% of your profits come from 20% of your products, concentrate on those products. Improve, market, and optimize them, while reducing focus on underperforming products that don't contribute much to your bottom line. Time management. If 20% of your tasks lead to 80% of your results, focus on those high-impact tasks first. For instance, if writing high-quality blog posts brings in most of your website traffic, prioritize creating more content over less effective marketing tactics. Customer service. If 80% of your customer complaints come from 20% of the problems, focus on fixing those key issues. By resolving the most common customer concerns, you can significantly reduce complaints and improve overall satisfaction. Learning and development. In education, 20% of the material may yield 80% of the comprehension or value. Focusing on mastering key concepts or skills can help you achieve a solid understanding more efficiently than trying to master everything equally. Famous example, Vilfredo Pareto. The principle was named after the Italian economist Vilfredo Pareto, who observed in the early 1900s that 80% of the land in Italy was owned by 20% of the population. He noticed similar patterns of wealth distribution in other countries and later extended his observations to broader aspects of life and business. Common misconceptions. The ratio doesn't have to be exactly 80 out of 20. The 80-20 split is more of a generalization. In some cases, it could be 90/10ths or 70/30ths, but the key idea is that a small proportion of causes often have a disproportionately large impact. The principle doesn't mean ignore the 80%. While it emphasizes focusing on the most impactful tasks, that doesn't mean ignoring the remaining 80%. Some of the lower-impact tasks may still be necessary, though they shouldn't consume most of your time and energy. Key benefits of the 80-20 principle. Improves efficiency. By focusing on the 20% of actions that yield the most results, you can achieve more while doing less. Reduces waste. It helps you identify areas where you're spending time, effort, or money that aren't producing much value. Helps prioritize. It encourages you to think strategically about what's really important and focus your efforts accordingly. The 80-20 principle in decision-making. Normal approach. We should equally divide our resources across all products to grow the business. 80-20 approach. Let's focus 80% of our marketing efforts on the 20% of products that bring in the most profit. By applying the 80-20 principle, you maximize your results with minimal effort, allowing you to concentrate on what truly drives success. Whether in business, personal productivity, or life in general, the principle encourages you to allocate resources wisely and focus on high-impact activities. Circle of competence. Definition. The circle of competence is a mental model that emphasizes understanding and operating within the areas where you have knowledge, skills, and expertise. It means recognizing the boundaries of what you truly know and avoiding decisions or actions outside of this circle, where your judgment may be less reliable. This model encourages humility, self-awareness, and the ability to say, "I don't know," when you're outside your competence zone. Why it matters. Many poor decisions stem from people venturing into areas they don't fully understand, overestimating their knowledge, or assuming they can easily figure things out. By staying within your circle of competence, you minimize risk, avoid costly mistakes, and focus on areas where you can provide value and make sound decisions. The key is to know the limits of your expertise and be comfortable asking for help or outsourcing tasks when necessary. Example: in investing, Warren Buffett, a famous proponent of the circle of competence model, has consistently stayed within industries and companies he understands well, like insurance, consumer goods, and banking. He avoids complex technology stocks if he doesn't fully understand the business model. This approach has allowed him to make consistently good investment decisions over the long term. In business, a company might excel at producing one type of product, like shoes, but lack the expertise to branch into a completely different industry, like electronics. If the company ventures too far from its core expertise without gaining new knowledge, it risks failure. How to apply the circle of competence. Identify your strengths and expertise. The first step is self-awareness. Understand where your strengths lie, whether in a specific field, skill set, or area of knowledge. Be honest about what you know well and what you don't. Stay in your zone. Focus your efforts on areas where you have deep knowledge and understanding. If you're an expert in real estate but have little understanding of cryptocurrencies, it's wise to avoid investments in crypto until you can expand your circle of competence in that area. Know when to ask for help. If a decision or opportunity is outside your expertise, don't be afraid to seek advice from experts or delegate to someone who has the required knowledge. This could mean hiring a financial advisor, consulting with an industry expert, or simply taking the time to learn more before making a decision. Expand your circle deliberately. While it's important to stay within your current competencies, it's also beneficial to grow your knowledge over time. Focus on deliberate learning and gradually expand your circle of competence by gaining experience and expertise in new areas. Practical applications. In career development, stay focused on your core skills and competencies where you can provide the most value to your organization. Avoid taking on roles or responsibilities that are outside your expertise unless you're committed to learning the necessary skills first. In entrepreneurship, entrepreneurs who understand their circle of competence know what they're good at, whether it's product design, marketing, or operations, and hire people or outsource tasks in areas where they lack expertise, like finance or legal issues. This allows them to run their business effectively without overextending themselves. In decision-making, before making big decisions, like a career change, major purchase, or investment, assess whether the decision falls within your circle of competence. If not, do research, consult experts, or reconsider the decision. Famous example: Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, one of the most successful investors of all time, attributes much of his success to adhering to the circle of competence model. He focuses on businesses he understands, such as insurance, consumer goods, and finance. Buffett avoids sectors like tech and biotech, not because they aren't profitable, but because he admits that he doesn't understand them well enough to make informed decisions. In his own words, you don't have to be an expert on every company, or even many. You only have to be able to evaluate companies within your circle of competence. The size of that circle is not very important. Knowing its boundaries, however, is vital. Common misconceptions. The circle of competence is not static. While it's important to operate within your current circle, it's also crucial to recognize that your circle can and should grow over time. With deliberate learning, research, and experience, you can expand into new areas. Staying in your circle doesn't mean playing it safe. You can still take calculated risks within your circle of competence. The idea is to avoid blind risks in areas where your knowledge is weak or assumptions untested. Key benefits of the circle of competence. Reduces risk. By focusing on what you know well, you avoid making costly mistakes in unfamiliar territory. Improves decision quality. You make better, more informed decisions when operating within areas of expertise. Promotes self-awareness. It fosters a realistic understanding of your strengths and limitations, allowing for better personal and professional growth. Encourages learning. Recognizing the limits of your competence encourages you to continuously learn and grow, strategically expanding your capabilities. The circle of competence in decision-making. Normal approach. This opportunity looks interesting, even though I don't fully understand the industry. I'll dive in and figure it out as I go. Circle of competence approach. This opportunity looks interesting, but it's outside my current expertise. I'll either take time to learn about it or pass on it until I can make a more informed decision. Expanding your circle of competence. Education. Take courses, read books, or seek mentorship to deepen your knowledge in a new area. Experience. Hands-on experience often reveals valuable insights that formal learning cannot. By gradually taking on projects or tasks in a new area, you can build competence over time. Learning from others. Collaborate with experts or hire professionals in areas where you lack expertise. This not only gets the job done, but also helps you learn through observation and experience. In essence, the circle of competence encourages you to understand and respect your limits while also pushing you to expand them deliberately. It's a tool for making smarter decisions, avoiding unnecessary risk, and focusing on areas where you can truly excel. These mental models help you approach problems and opportunities with greater clarity, better decision-making, and more effective strategy execution.